everybody, it's Chris Eads, known online as Wootini, here with another one of my gay gamer video podcasts. I did not go to the movies this week. There was nothing opening, and I had something else to do on Saturday afternoon, so no movie to talk about at all. I didn't even see something old. So we're just going to get into the games. Still playing the same games as always, but I wanted to talk about a discovery that I made, a surprising discovery. As you might recall from the previous episode, my Xbox One has died. It wouldn't read discs, and then it wouldn't even turn on. So I was annoyed and upset that I would no longer be able to play Rock Band. And I basically had like two options, because I'm not buying a new Xbox One. Because even a used refurbished Xbox One was like $170 on GameStop. And I was like, no, that's too much money for an old system. So my two options, I either throw away my Rock Band instruments and give up forever, or I see about getting my Xbox One repaired. And I don't know how much that was going to cost. However, this past week, I made a surprising discovery that I could actually get a new Xbox and still play Rock Band. Let me explain. So, you know how Microsoft has to make everything so complicated all the time. Like, Sony is like, here's the PlayStation, and here's PlayStation 2, and here's 3 and 4, and now the PlayStation 5. Very easy, very simple, very obvious. And then Nintendo is like, we'll just give everything different names. You know, Wii, Switch, Game Boy, DS, unless it's like an upgrade to an existing system, like the 3DS or the Game Boy Advance or the Wii U. So I was like, Microsoft was like, here's the Xbox. But did they do the Xbox 2? No. They did the Xbox 360. And everyone went, what are you going to call the next one? 720? Huh? But no, the next one was called the Xbox One. So the Xbox One is actually the third system, which is like, what are you doing? It's confusing and weird. And then they came out with the Xbox Series X. And I'm like, no, thank you. I didn't even like really read up on it, because at that point I was kind of over the Xbox and I was focused more on PlayStation and Nintendo. So I didn't really realize. I knew that there was a system called the Xbox Series S, and I thought, I don't know why I thought this, because I'm an idiot and I didn't investigate and look into things. I thought the Xbox Series S was like an Xbox One Pro. You know, it was like the intermediary step before the release of the Xbox Series X, which was like the powerful, expensive new console. It turns out that's not the case, and I'm an idiot. So the Series S plays the same games as the X. It's just a digital-only console. But instead of just doing what like Sony did, where they're like, here's the PS5, and you have two options. There's one with a disk drive and one without. They were like, you have two Xboxes, a Series X with a disk drive and a Series S without. But the Series S, it's like also less powerful, and it doesn't output in 4K. So I'm like, what are you doing? And I mean, I get it that you have like the hardcore Xbox gamers are buying the X. It's super expensive, super powerful, whatever. But they're trying to like court like a more casual market that doesn't want to spend all that money, but you can still play the same Xbox games, just not in 4K resolution and super awesome. So I'm like, oh. So it's, you know, and it's much cheaper. Whereas with the Sony, it's like $50 difference whether you get a disk drive or not. Here, it's like $150 because it's less powerful and less hardware and less disk drive. So it's $150 cheaper, which is like a big difference. So I was surprised by this. And then I found out that the Xbox Series S will, and X, but I don't care about the X, I care about the S. It will, like the majority of Xbox One peripherals will work with it. So I'm like, wait, so I could buy this Xbox Series S, and then I'd still have to buy Rock Band for $10 because there's no disk drive. But my instruments should work with the Xbox Series S. The wireless instruments should still function with the S, and then I could play Rock Band again properly. And then The other thing that I realized was, wait, it can play all the same games, so I could play Starfield, you say? And I was concerned because obviously it's less powerful system, and I'm like, that's an interesting choice because now, like, if you get a PlayStation 5 game, it's going to play on either system exactly the same. You're just going to have to get it digitally or on disc. It doesn't matter. Here, I'm like, is there going to come a time when they make an Xbox game that only plays on the X because the S would be so hampered by its inferiority? Like, it would have just the insufficient energy and processing power. It won't play as well on that, so you might as well not even bother. But looking online, it apparently Starfield plays just perfectly fine on the S. And I found a YouTube video that actually did like graphical comparisons, and they're like, as you can see on this planet, the draw distance isn't as strong. You know, it's much better on the X than the S. There's a lot more fog. And then you can see in the environment, there's less detail on the S. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, there's a few less shrubs on this planet. Like, this has a whole bunch of shrubs and this one is missing a few. Like, whatever. It looked fine to me. And then the gameplay, they said, was basically the same on both systems. There's a little slowdown on a couple of the really big planets where there's a lot to render. But overall, like, it plays smoothly on both systems. Except, I think the X will do like 60 frames per second, whereas the S will only do 30. And I'm just like, I am only a human being with regular eyes. 30 frames per second is perfectly fine for me. And I don't care about the lack of HD or 4K, because to me, I don't really notice a big difference with 4K. Like, VHS to DVD, huge difference. But then you upgrade it to a high-def TV, and your DVD started to not look so good. So you upgrade to Blu-ray, which is now perfectly high-def and gorgeous and beautiful and wonderful on your high-def TV. And now they're like, hey, now there's 4K, which is even better. Except I have a 4K TV, and the few 4K movies that I have actually watched, they're not noticeably better than the regular Blu-ray, to me and my eyes. So I'm just like, this is fine. Like, I could totally do this and save $150. So I'm like, I didn't want to spend $450 to play Starfield. That was ridiculous. But now my Xbox One doesn't work. I'm like, well, now it'll be Starfield and Rock Band, and then whatever else Bethesda might put out, because I'm not sure there's going to be any other real big Xbox exclusives. But the idea of spending less money, $300, I'm like, $300 to play Starfield and be able to play Rock Band again, and then whatever other exclusives that come out that don't go to PlayStation might be worth it. Because at this point, I don't really think Starfield's coming to PlayStation. It's my gut feeling. So I'm like, okay, it's worth it. And last week, Target actually had it on sale for $269, so $30 off. But I could not buy it because I'm still in the middle of Avatar, and after Avatar, I have to go back and finish Super Mario RPG, which I gave up on because I could not juggle 4 games at once. 3 is enough. 4 is too much. So I've got a lot to play before I could even think about starting Starfield. And I wasn't even going to be like, well, I'll just get it and then maybe I'll just play a little Rock Band and I'll get Starfield later. Because no thank you. Like, I would not be able to resist. Also because it comes with 3 free months of Game Pass, so you just activate your Game Pass and you could just start playing Starfield. Except I don't think I'll be able to finish Starfield in 3 months, so I feel like after 3 months, I'm going to end up having to go and I'll cancel Game Pass and just buy Starfield. That's just my guess. But that's going to have to wait until like the summer, because I've still got to finish Avatar, then I've got to finish Super Mario RPG. Then, it turns out there's another game coming out in May that I'm super excited for. Last week, Nintendo had a Nintendo Direct with a partner showcase, and there were a bunch of third-party games, and they were showing off all these different games. And as always, I don't watch live. I watch it after the fact so that I can fast forward through all the games I don't care about, and then I look at some of the games that I don't know anything about, and then sometimes I'll watch them, and then I'll be like, yeah, no. Like the first one, they had that Honey, I Shrunk the Kids game, where I was like, I don't know how they're not getting sued, because it's literally Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. But then they were talking about like build your base and play online with your friends and compete co-op, and I was like, no, you lost me with the online play. And then there was another one that was like an RPG, and I'm like, ooh. And then they're like, strategy. And I'm like, no, I don't really care for strategy RPGs like that. So the, tactics and stuff, that's not my game. So I was disappointed that there was literally nothing in this entire thing. There was like a dozen or so games, and none of them had me going, ooh. And so then they got to the last one, and I'm like, oh, what's this one? And then it's like, I saw some fish swimming, and I went, ooh, an underwater game. I love underwater games. And I saw the scuba diver, and I thought, oh, is this like Endless Ocean? And then it is Endless Ocean. Endless Ocean Luminous. There's a new Endless Ocean game. And I was like, so excited. So I loved the first two Endless Ocean games on the Wii. Thought they were great. The first one was a little more, I love my underwater exploration. It's so chill and soothing. The first one was very chill and soothing. The second one, as I recall, they made it a little more like a game, and like now the sharks would attack you and you had to like zap them to make them go away and stuff. And I'm like, that's a less chill, relaxing experience, but it still looks very pretty, and I liked exploring underwater and discovering treasures and identifying all the fish, and that was great. So I'm very much looking forward to Endless Ocean Luminous. There's not a lot known yet about the game. It was just announced, so I tried finding more information about it, but it's not there yet. But I'm definitely keeping an eye on that between now and May. There's this whole multiplayer aspect where you can play with up to 30 people exploring together, and I'm just like, no thank you. Like, that's too crowded. Like maybe one or two would be okay, but I feel like I would rather explore by myself, just me and the fishes. That's all I really want. And then because I don't remember if I really did anything. The second Endless Ocean game had multiplayer, but I don't recall if I used it at all or much. The other thing that I'm concerned about with Endless Ocean Luminous is that, like so many games now, it's got a roguelike feature where every time you go for a dive, the environment is completely different. And I'm not sure how I feel about that, because I sort of like multiple locations around the globe to dive in, and you say, okay, I'm going to dive in this coral reef, or I'm going to dive in this Arctic ocean, and you go around, you swim, you find some treasures, you identify some fish, and then you're like, ooh, what's that cave over there? Ooh, I'm almost out of oxygen. Let me go up, replenish my oxygen, and then I'll come back down and check out that cave. Except now you'd go up top, and when you dive again, that cave won't be there, because it's going to completely randomly regenerate the entire underwater environment for you. And I'm like, how are you supposed to know if you've caught all the fish, not caught, but identified all the fish in that area, if it's randomly generating them every time? Like, you might not be able to do it, because they won't give you that one fish that you haven't identified yet until like 10 more dives, and then randomly they'll show up. And God forbid you miss it. I don't know. The whole randomness is a little, I'm not crazy about it, but again, it's new, it's just been announced, so I'll, keep an eye out for articles and previews and stuff, and just to see how it's going to play and whatever. I'll still probably buy it anyway on May 2nd when it comes out, but that's a little bit of a concern. But I'm still very excited. I do love my underwater adventure. So, yay for Endless Ocean coming back. And that's it for this week. And so come back next time, and I'll have some more stuff to talk about. Dune opens. I'll be talking about Dune 2. As for anything else, who knows what else there might be to talk about. Come back and find out. Bye!